Hey, so today I want to talk about the claim about how Obama cut the Bush deficits by two-thirds. While it is true that the deficit did go down by two-thirds underneath Obama, there's actually a lot more than meets the eye. So right now I'm on the FRED website, which is the Federal Reserve Economic Data website. There's actually a lot of tools to use here, and you can customize things, a different wide variety way of things. So I've got two different charts pulled up here. One is the federal surplus and deficit. So as you can see, when Clinton was leaving office, we still had a surplus, although there's a lot more to meet the eye with that. But you had 9/11 happening, the tech bubble crashing, which took those surpluses and put it down into deficits. You also had a lot of the excess that was built up by the Fed under Greenspan lowering rates for the first time. So as you can see here, nothing too great to write home about. But a lot of the Bush years, we're in the, $300 billion deficit range, $170 billion deficit range, all the way down to the recession, the peak of it being at 1.2 trillion. Although that was underneath Obama, although you can't really fault him with that, although he did lobby the housing industry to lower their standards as a senator from Illinois, and even I believe he sued Citigroup, or I know he sued a major bank, forcing them to lend subprime. He was also, I think, top three recipient of lobbyist money from the the big mortgage companies. So like the Freddie Mae, Fannie Macs, Countrywides. But anyways, moving on. So as you can see, the deficit underneath Obama has gotten less and less, but you're still at a trillion, almost a trillion. And then here's where it starts getting good. In 2013, you're looking at 460 billion, 400 billion, 390 billion. So definitely some manageable numbers. But what I want to also then pan over is I want to look at the federal government current tax receipts. So at the height of the Bush years, you're only looking at 1.6 trillion of tax receipts, and in the depths of the recession, you're looking at 1.1 trillion of receipts. But what's interesting to know is that once you get up to 2012-ish area, you're actually starting to surpass where Bush was in 2007 from current tax receipts. And mind you, Bush wasn't super far in the hole. You're looking at maybe $200 billion ish of deficits, which by today's standards seem great. So as you're looking at this, 2014, we're already over $300 billion more than where Bush was in tax receipts, which is a good thing. And then over in 2015, we're quite a bit a ways from where Bush was. So Bush was over here at 1.6 trillion. Now we're sitting at 2.1 trillion. That's a $500 million more of tax receipts. So when we're looking at things, is we should look at this. Imagine if we add an extra $500 million of tax receipts in 2006, we would be plus sitting and swimming in the money. Same over here, swimming in the money. During the entire Bush era, if we had an extra 500 billion, we would definitely be in the black. But now, it's going to take another $500 million on top of already record surpluses just to get back to even. And that's with a recovery, if you want to call it that, that's lasted. We're going on 8 years now. I think in 10 days will actually be the anniversary of Lehman collapsing on September 15th, 2008. So, to take a victory lap on cutting the deficit, is to ignore the fact that we spent a ton of money. We've, increased the national unfunded liabilities by, untold trillions. We've increased the national debt by a factor of 2. And what do we have to show for it? We have an infrastructure that's still crumbling. We have a labor force participation rate that's at nearly 40-year lows, with I think only 62%-ish of people actually in the workforce. You got Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders rising to the forefront politically, and that's not because things are going great. That's because things are not going great. Otherwise, that would not be the case. So this is just some of the FRED data I wanted to share with you guys to actually show that the debt and deficit is there's a lot more than meets the eye, and I think it should be factored in that we are collecting more money now, but the deficits are still gigantic, and how are we ever going to close that gap? If anyone really wants to get depressed, they can go to usdebtclock.org and then see a whole host of different debt measurements that are not great. I think the most telling one down here is liability per taxpayer is $864,000. Now, because when you factor in the debt, it doesn't include Social Security, it doesn't include Medicare, which is actually more than Social Security, it doesn't include a lot of other unfunded liabilities that we have. So when we take a look at what the national debt is, hovering around 19 trillion, I think this is just out of focus over here. So we're looking at $19.5 trillion as of this writing. That doesn't really show the entire picture, because if you don't count Social Security, you don't count Medicare, you don't count the wars, you don't count unfunded Obamacare, and so many other things, then what are you really counting? It's like if I was trying to do a financial plan and said, oh yeah, you're doing great, but if you don't count your mortgage, don't count student loans, don't count your credit cards, well, guess what? This is the real world, and in the real world, you need to count those things. So I think anyone who's doing a victory lap on Obama is definitely doing a premature victory lap. And if things are going so great, then how come we can't raise the Fed funds rate? That's all I have to say for today.